Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Women, Sex, God, Power, a podcast where we are exploring the rise of divine and dark feminine power and the extraordinary evolution that we are currently moving through as a collective consciousness. And before I get into today's episode, which is going to be on the rise of divine feminine energy and the importance of learning how to really protect yourself as a woman from psychic persecution, from psychic attacks, from people that want to latch onto your energy and interfere with that actualization of your power, I just want to quickly mention that I have a free webinar for women, specifically for women entrepreneurs, creators, artists who really desire to step into their power, get their work seen, their voice heard, develop the confidence to be able to show up online and really share their message. As I said, it's for entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, educators, teachers, light workers, coaches, any woman that is here to transmit a powerful spiritual message and consciously contribute to the empowerment of women. I also have a free live masterclass coming up on June the 28th on some of the topics we're going to be discussing today. You can go to the links in the show notes to sign up and register for both the free webinar and the free masterclass. So on today's episode, which is a really important topic, and you're going to have to excuse me because I'm currently going through a really extreme spiritual upgrade transformation, so I'm a little bit woo-woo more than usual. But on today's episode, I want to talk about the importance of really learning how to protect your divinity as a woman. The importance of protecting your essence from outside infiltrations, outside influences and projections. We are moving through a very strange and transformative time on the planet, and part of a transformation that we're moving through is leaving a lot of the collective in a state of deep confusion, fear, scarcity, lack. This is always part of the vibration that we enter into as a humanity when we're in between worlds, right? We're very much in between worlds right now. We're leaving the old world, the old way of being, the patriarchal systems that have capitalized off of women's oppression, minorities, the oppression of minorities, people of color, and we're transitioning into a new world, which is going to look completely different. The world 20, 30, 40 years from now will be unrecognizable from what it looks like right now with the, specific structures, the nuclear family, a woman and man living in a house together and having 2 children. And, this very traditional, conventional way of existence, it is crumbling, it is changing, it is shifting. And with that shift and transformation, it's leaving a lot of people deeply confused, especially people that have clung to that familiarity, that way of being, that way of living that has given them a false sense of safety. Our ego really dislikes any form of spiritual evolution and transition. And that is what is happening right now on the planet. We're going through a mass purging of all of the systems, all of the ways, all of the, anything that has been severing and disconnecting humans from their divinity, from their higher self, from their soul self, from the most actualized, empowered, creative version of who they are when they are operating from their own individual mind, but truly in alignment with their divinity, truly concerned about the well-being and the welfare of the collective, of all beings, of all humans, of all life on earth. Up until now, most of what has dominated our society has been a result of the white colonial man's creation. Everything from the religions that we have been programmed with, the institutions, education systems, it's all a vision that has been manifested from the white colonial man's imagination. And that is what is crumbling, so that we can make space for a very different world to come into form. And that world is going to come into form through the actualization and the empowerment of women, which is why we are seeing so many women rising up and reclaiming their power, boycotting relationships, really questioning the old way that has come through our parents, the boomer generation, my grandparents, and recognizing that it's very misaligned with what is correct for their own well-being. And when we're going through such a massive transition in which there's a percentage of humanity that wants to cling to the old and stay within those old systems and ways of being. And there's a other proportion of humanity, mostly women right now, that really want to recreate life on Earth so that it benefits their own evolution and their own expression. There is going to be a war in human consciousness, a war between the genders, a war between the masculine and the feminine. That is what is happening right now. And as this plays out, and it will continue to get worse as time goes on, it's very, very important that women really protect the actualization of their power, and particularly their divine feminine expression. The last time we saw this explosion of divine feminine power and dark feminine power and awakening on the planet was thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. Thousands of years ago. We're looking at a matriarchal era on the earth in which women ruled, women were in positions of leadership, women were seen as the primary voices of authority. I'm talking about long before religion and man-made institutions and philosophers such as Aristotle and Socrates existed. The matriarchal era on this earth is coming back. The voice of women, the wisdom of women, the wisdom of the mystic, the feminine prophet, psychic, seer, astrologer, healer, wisdom keeper, it is coming back. And it's a very exciting time on the planet for that reason, because women are remembering their power as divine creatrixes. They are remembering what it feels like to be wholly embodied in their feminine essence and their divinity. And not every woman that is empowered in the modern day sense is in her divine feminine energy and essence. A lot of women promoting feminine empowerment are still very much operating from the toxic masculine structures and ego. And it's a very ego-driven ideology that is centered around materialistic wealth, fame, being a celebrity, being a TikTok influencer, and it's a pretty self-centered perspective. A woman who is empowered in her divine feminine energy is simply a woman that is very, very in touch with her spiritual essence. She's very, very in touch with the laws of the universe. She is intimately connected to the unseen realm, the higher dimensions, the invisible realms that we can only have access to through bypassing our five senses, going beyond the logic of a conscious mind, going beyond the ego, going beyond our identity as a physical human in this realm, and really getting back in touch with our divinity as feminine beings. What our life would look like if we were truly expressing from that place of true spiritual divinity, that feminine self that is the protector, that wants to protect life on earth, that wants to advocate for those that cannot use their own voice, that are living in parts of the world where they don't have the same privilege to freedom of expression, freedom of creative expression, the same empowerment, right? Again, look at what's happening in Palestine as an example. So women who are connected to their divine feminine essence is very, very much about wanting to actualize her power on behalf of empowering everyone else around her. It is an energy that wants to pull everybody else up with her, that wants to nourish and nurture and provide and reawaken. Divine feminine and dark feminine consciousness, it is about a reawakening to the goddess within you as a woman, and what it looks like to think and walk and act and behave and love and create from that consciousness. And it is a very special consciousness. It's a forgotten consciousness that we haven't seen on the earth for a very long time. But it's beginning to come back. And as it begins to come back, there are going to be many dark forces, different forces, invisible forces, and also, more obvious forces that will attempt to prevent the actualization of that power, speaking through women. Unfortunately, these darker energies and entities tend to operate through men who have really forgotten what it is to be in their own divinity, who have been cut off and severed from it, and are having a much harder time reuniting and reconnecting to it. And there are many different reasons as to why men have a much harder time accessing those higher dimensions and realms of divine consciousness than women do. For women, it comes a lot more naturally as a result of how they are energetically designed, being a lot more sensitive, being someone that has a womb that creates life inside of her body, who bleeds every month. So all of these different factors as a result of the feminine constitution allows a woman to stay in touch with that divine consciousness. But because a lot of men have become severed from it, what has happened is that they've opened themselves up to, let's say, parasitical entities, darker forces, trying to infiltrate the planetary grid, trying to infiltrate human consciousness, and stifle and disrupt and prevent that divine feminine consciousness from actualizing. Because once that consciousness actualizes through increasing numbers of women on the earth, everything will change. There will have to be a point in time in which women and men meet and recognize that both have unique power and unique gifts, and that they are here to work in harmony with one another. But until that time arises, and it's going to take many, many decades, we are going to see a war unfolding on this earth. Whether that war is a result of AI-generated creations or a result of men who refuse to recognize that the power and the divinity of women is beginning to increasingly actualize and needs to actualize in order for humanity to survive, to be frank. Until women and men can unite in their consciousness, there is going to be a war of agendas, a war on this earth. And it's already been happening in many different forms, right? Women having their reproductive rights taken away from them. You can see it playing out in all of these malicious and insidious ways, politically, collectively, systematically. And ultimately, all of it is an attempt to suppress that divinity from activating in women, from women remembering their power, from women remembering that they are the source, the main primary source of abundance and creation on this planet, as beings that create life within them. Which means that for you as a spiritually conscious woman, you are going to have to become so much more discerning and so much more careful and more protective in this phase of your evolution, because there are going to be many different forces that are attempting to pull you off path. And this is very much the path of a spiritual warrior, right? We begin to activate that divinity, that voice of truth, that voice of divine knowledge and wisdom that can see everything that is dysfunctional and wrong in the world, that is resulting in violence and harm and suffering, and wants to bring awareness to it, wants to call out and expose the darker forces that are resulting in that severing from our divinity, that are resulting in humanity being severed and being so lost and having forgotten the powerful manifestors and creators that they are. So whenever we are on the spiritual path, oh, and by the way, I can see this in my own work every single day, like TikTok constantly banning these podcast episodes for absolutely no reason. Because whenever you're speaking so much truth, and whenever you are speaking about things that have the potential to really awaken people to their own sovereignty and autonomy, oh, I am a divine being and I do get to consciously co-create my reality, and I don't have to be a slave to various systems that are preventing me from having any independence or any mind of my own, right? We're talking about your mind here, your thoughts having been hijacked, your consciousness having been enslaved, how most of the thoughts that you think are not even your own, because any thought or any behavior or belief that is vibrationally out of alignment with abundance or power or peace or sovereignty, any thought or belief that puts you in a state of lack and scarcity and hostility and jealousy and envy and greed and competitiveness and anger and resentment, your mind has been hijacked, your consciousness has been hijacked. And for us to recognize that is going to create a huge dismantling and a huge disruption in all of the systems and entities that currently have their claws gripping in to the collective consciousness as a whole and attempting to control humanity. And when we do not have control over our own mind, because this is about self-mastery, right? This is about self-mastery above all else. Self-mastery over your thoughts, self-mastery over your energy, self-mastery over what you're manifesting in your reality. When we don't have control over that, when we're not fully inhabiting our own body and our own being, when we're not in touch with our own unique soul essence, we open ourselves up to parasitical entities and we become the host through which that entity operates through. And it hijacks our consciousness and it begins to make us think and act in ways that are completely separate from our own divinity, from recognizing how much control we have over our own life. So unfortunately, as this sacred divine feminine energy begins to come up on the planet, and it is very much the universe's will, the earth's will, to see women reclaim that sovereignty, that dignity, that power, as we see that actualizing through more women, we are also going to see more men increasingly acting violently. And this is because a lot of men on the planet right now have turned into hosts, which are a match, a vibrational match to parasitical entities that attach onto them and begin to operate through them. And by the way, whenever we are in a vibrational state of fear or lack consciousness or rage or unprocessed trauma, we become more vulnerable to other entities and other forces operating through us and controlling us. A lot of people on this planet right now are not in their body. A lot of humans on the earth are walking around completely disconnected from their body, completely disconnected from their awareness. They're just elsewhere. They're not even here. There's a blankness in their eyes. There's a sedated look. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about when you're talking to someone and you're looking them in the eye and you can see that they're not fully there. And when we are not fully embodied in our body, again, we open ourselves up to other energies and other forces to operate through us. And when we are not embodied in our own body, when we are not fully awake and alive within our own body, we begin to act and think and behave in ways that are of a lower consciousness. So for women who are beginning to activate that divinity within themselves, it's very, very important that you learn to protect yourself, that you develop very, very strong energetic boundaries. And the way that you protect yourself is by becoming very, very intimate with what it feels like to be embodied in your own essence, what it feels like to be you. Your unique energy essence. What does it feel like to be in that energy? Because when we are connected to our own essence and energy, when we are fully awake to what it feels like to be speaking and behaving and thinking aligned with our divinity, whenever something from the outside tries to infiltrate our consciousness or our energy field or our reality, psychic attacks, again, mostly from men, projections, any subtle energetic interference that is trying to pull you off path, that is trying to sabotage your progress to empowering yourself, you will spot it much faster. You will recognize much faster, this is a foreign energy. This is a foreign entity. This is not part of my consciousness. These are not my thoughts. This is not my energy. This is something foreign that is trying to find its way into my field and trying to infiltrate my consciousness. And to keep it really, really simple, again, any energies that are not aligned with power and truth and love and beauty and creativity and joy are not part of your true self. They are not part of the divine self. And because the consciousness and the mind of so many humans on the planet has been hijacked, because of poisonous influences, mainstream media, just look at the lyrics in the majority of mainstream pop songs or rap songs. Just look at how much violence and greed and self-centeredness and themes of an egoic nature, hostility, aggressiveness, again, competitiveness. All of these lyrics are infused into your subconscious mind, and of course it's going to influence how you behave in the world, and it creates separation. And it doesn't just create separation from you and everyone else on the planet so that you become increasingly desensitized and numb to the well-being of other people and the collective, but it makes you desensitized to your own well-being, to your own truth, to your own power. So the way that we reclaim our power as women on the planet, as divine beings, in this human incarnation, as an energy being, as a being of spirit above all else, operating and experiencing life through a physical human vessel, is to begin to become very, very conscious and aware of any energies that are not in resonance, not in harmony with the truth of who you are, with your divinity. Unfortunately, part of reclaiming our power, our voice, our sexuality, our creativity, our expression, all sides and facets of our feminine expression, multiple different archetypes, right? The dark feminine, the divine feminine, the wild feminine. Unfortunately, part and parcel of going through that process of reclaiming all that power is that you become a target for more attacks, for the large proportion of humanity who are not in alignment with their divinity, who have really, really forgotten what it looks like and feels like to be wholly embodied in their own essence, and are still enslaved within this mass programming of, again, scarcity, lack, fear, religious programming, cultural programming, social programming, this very, very one-dimensional way of thinking, this mass mind that is controlling everyone on the earth, except for those that have really awakened to their power. And unfortunately, part of you reclaiming your power as a woman is that you become a target to people who are uncomfortable with their sexuality, who don't want to see you dancing freely, who don't want to see you bathing naked in a river, or writing songs about the oppression of women and men that harvest feminine energy, and men that have only been able to create the power that they've created on this earth for so long because they've been operating through women, because they've been constantly feeding off of the feminine, again, like parasites. And that is how they've managed to maintain the masculine structures for so long, through repressing women, feeding off of them, weakening the feminine essence on the planet within women as a whole. So part of the process that we move through when we are actualizing our spiritual power as women is becoming a target to these attacks and these projections. And if you know this, if you know, okay, this is just the nature of my journey, my life path as a woman who is here to embody more of that power of the mystic and the psychic and the seer and the truth teller, the wisdom keeper, the witch, the whore, the sexually empowered woman, if you know that part of your life path is going to be being subjected to these projections from other women who are disempowered, who have forgotten their divinity and the truth of who they are, men who have forgotten the truth of who they are. If you know that those projections are part of your life path, and when it's coming at you, it's not going to phase you or impact you anymore. Part of our own shielding and protection around this as well is our own self-love. Our own self-love is the highest form of protection that we can offer to ourselves. Forget obsidian, tourmaline, amethyst crystals. You can use them if you want. But the highest form of protection you can offer yourself is your own self-love. Your own affirmations. I'm protected. I'm divinely protected. There is nothing that can enter into my energy field or my consciousness that is not in vibrational alignment with love and power and truth. I will not let it in. I will not let anything that is not a match to the vibration of love and divinity and truth and sovereignty and unity into my field. I will not let it in. I'm protected. Whenever you leave the house, whenever you go into the supermarket, whenever you're having a conversation with someone, I'm protected. I'm divinely protected. Nothing can enter into my field unless I give it permission, and no part of me as a woman, you can use it as a man as well, but no part of me as a woman gives this energy, this foreign entity, this foreign thought form that wants to come into my mind and infiltrate my awareness and my consciousness and hijack my thinking, I don't give it permission to enter. I don't give it permission because I love myself too much, because I honor and respect myself. I'm a divine being, and it is my birthright on this planet. It is my birthright as a woman to live wholly embodied in my sexuality. It is my birthright to get to enjoy my sexuality, to enjoy the power that exists within my being as a feminine being, to express myself, to use my voice, to use my power. That is my birthright. It is not something I have to ask permission for. It is not something that I have to earn. This is my birthright as a divine being. All of these mantras and affirmations are the self-love that you are feeding yourself, the protection that you are creating around yourself to prevent anything coming into your consciousness and pulling you off path, pulling you away from your authentic essence and the truth of who you are. I want to finish this episode by reading you one of the channel teachings that I devised and created, wrote, for my women students who are currently in my program, She Rebelled. If you want to learn more about this program, then please feel free to sign up to the free webinar in the show notes. And this is about transmuting others' projections. The concept of transmuting others' projections comes in understanding that energy cannot be destroyed and only transformed. So poison can be transformed into nectar and vice versa. Nectar can be transformed into poison depending on the vessel, the person it is running through. Whatever you are given and whatever is thrown at you can either be used for your benefit or end by weakening you and robbing you of your self-esteem and confidence. For this reason, it is a true art to be able to take what life throws at you as a woman and turn it into gold. Women with this skill become the ultimate alchemists, and everything that comes their way, including their greatest traumas and the most unpleasant life experiences, becomes the nectar and the fuel through which they transform, strengthen, and build themselves. Their father's criticism becomes the fuel and the motivational force that powers them to move ahead, determined to become the opposite character to the jaded, pessimistic individual that they've witnessed their father become. Their enemy's cruel words, mockery, and humiliation becomes the ultimate training ground through which they strengthen, build, and develop their fortitude, tenacity, and character. In fact, the power of your strength and resilience as a woman cannot be fully actualized until you have entered into the battlefield of visibility and made yourself available to criticism, judgment, and false accusations. It is through these experiences that you unleash the true depth of your fortitude and power as a woman. For women on the spiritual path in particular, more hardships will often be sent their way, as this is life giving them opportunities to build and strengthen themselves. It is part of a test and initiation that we go through to see how badly we desire to achieve and manifest the things that we claim we want. Life and the universe will respond with, well, let me see how much you are capable of currently handling, and if you can handle that, then I will give you more. I will send you more and more and a little more until you have built the inner resources to hold the creative destiny that is rightly yours to claim. And this is not the universe playing tricks for its own amusement or punishing you because of some past karmic ills. It is part of a preparation you must move through as a woman whom is here to teach from a place of experiential medicine and learnt, embodied understanding of what it takes to walk through the world with self-mastery. Mastery over your thoughts, mastery over how you respond to others' projections, mastery over how you direct your time, energy, and intention. The most brutal of life challenges will teach you all of these. When we are young and naive and still not fully awake to the power of our womanhood, we have too much curiosity and desire and too little discipline and focus. We have too much creative and sexual primal energy and not enough clarity of direction on where to channel this energy. We have great, glorious ambitions and dreams, but none of a wisdom, discernment, or grit to understand the level of tenacity, persistence, and true decision-making required to actualize these soul yearnings into reality. We have the consciousness and the heart of a dreamer, but the mindset of a young child and a young woman who has not yet actualized the full range of her feminine expression and wisdom to be able to embody the multi-layered experience that comes with actualizing such greater visions into our physical reality. When we are young and ignorant of how to guard, nurture, and direct our feminine life force, we might squander our energy on the wrong men, the wrong friendships, petty dramas, and gossip, because we've yet to walk through the fire of spiritual initiation and profound hardship that would enable us to strengthen our sense of direction, our sense of purpose, and allow us to recognize how precious our time and our energy truly is. Sometimes we need to be shaken by trauma, by loss, by pain, by suffering, illness, and humbled to our core before we can truly claim the depth of our feminine power. And it is through that pain that we expand to be able to hold greater joy, more pleasure, more wealth, and higher vibrational experiences. True self-mastery is developed through taking whatever we encounter and endure, and consciously choosing to turn it into medicine, fuel, the energy of I can and I will do this, and nothing will stop me from becoming who I am destined to become. This is the path of a warrior, but not the warrior whom is constantly at war with others or operating from hypervigilance in preparation of attack. The warrior that peacefully encounters these unwanted projections and dramas from the outside world, from lost and unhappy souls who do not understand what they are saying or the karma they are creating with their energy and their words, and as a conscious warrior, simply chooses to use all of these engagements and experiences as an opportunity to grow in strength, to root down into their soul path and life mission and remind themselves that it is their birthright to shine brightly and to continue shining no matter the darkness that is drawn to them in the process of them doing so. If people despise us for our beauty, for our power, for our grace, we do not respond by shrinking or taking a step back, but rather we respond by expanding and amplifying our light. We turn our power up 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times more, and we let it flood into all corners of the earth which need it the very most. If people despise us for our innate goodness, our confidence in our life path, and the internal peace that we have cultivated from having endured personal trauma, then we use this as an opportunity to amplify these characteristics within us. We do not lower ourselves to the standards of others by becoming like them. Hateful, spiteful, resentful, vengeful, angry, bothered. In doing this, we are giving them our power. We are letting them know that they have won and that their darkness is stronger than our light. That their words have woven into our being and begun to shape our own perception of self. And this is what we cannot allow. Darkness can spread like wildfire, but so can love. The only reason it appears as if there is a lot less love in the world than despair and hatred is because too many people have allowed the darkness of others to find its way into their psyche and begin taking up residence within them, beginning to shape their identity and their perception of the world. So for this reason, it is all the more important to stay anchored in your light, to notice and observe the energy of others, to get a sense of it, to acknowledge it for what it is, and then to not allow it to find its way into your psyche or being and reduce your own innate goodness, light, and power. The fastest way that the world attempts to reduce a woman's power is through shaming her. reducing her efforts to actualize herself, attempting to diminish her, smear her reputation. And for a woman who has not cultivated an inner sense of power, self-esteem, tenacity, wisdom, discernment, shrewdness, and awareness of how fickle and nasty men and women can truly be, she will allow the efforts of others to destroy and dismantle her to take priority over how she feels about her own self. So the practice of taking whatever you are handed, recognizing it for what it is, and transforming it into an energy that can serve and benefit your own life journey is the definition of true power. Whilst it doesn't mean we deny our hurt or wounding and cover over it with an unbothered facade, it allows us to live with far more courage and far less avoidance when we recognize that we, as women, are an alchemical force, able to transmute the densest and most disheartening of life experiences into the fuel that can carry us forward. This is one of my teachings, as I said at the beginning, and if you want to learn more about the work that I'm doing with women around empowerment, helping them activate the power of their voice and really step into their self-expression and have the courage to be seen in the world and take up space, then please do register for the free webinar. I will put the link in the show notes as mentioned, along with a free live masterclass happening on the 28th of June that you can register for. I would be so happy to see you there. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. As always, if it brought you any value, please do share it with another woman or man who might find it useful. Don't forget to follow me on the Spotify app, and I hope that I see you for the next episode. Bye bye and lots of love for now.